Hello and welcome to the No, it's not How I Failed. Is it? What is it?
How I Failed.
It is How I Failed. Right, we'll go again. Hello and welcome to the How I Failed in Business podcast, where we want to share with you lots of embarrassing stories, dilemmas, and mishaps that happen in everyday life in business. My name is Rob Spence, your host, the Managing Director of Paragon Sales Solutions, and I'm thrilled to welcome our guest to today's podcast, Jayne Brewer, the CEO of 2B Enterprising. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. Good to
Nice
see you.
to see you.
You looked at me like I'd said everything wrong then. I was like, no, my name's Sally. How are you? How was your journey from Swansea?
It was good, yeah. It's a bit of a way, but leaving early in the morning, it's absolutely fine and a pleasure to come up here again.
Oh, absolutely. And you had the Breakfast of Champions today?
Breakfast of Champions, yeah. Marks and Spencer's, jelly snakes, a couple of Maltesers, whatever was left in the car, actually.
Oh, no, not from the floor?
Kids. Not from the floor.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, that's dangerous.
Left over in the packet.
Some kids' quavers stuck by the seatbelt.
Oh, definitely. There's plenty of those.
Nice. Well, look, really appreciate you joining us. And I'm really excited because I've had a big stalk on your LinkedIn and you've got a really vast, for someone so young and beautiful, we've got to cut that out. That sounded really creepy. You've got a vast array of experience on your LinkedIn. Bit sneakily, you've told me another role that you've had before that I couldn't seem to find on your LinkedIn, so we need to explore that a little bit.
That's good.
But tell me about 2B Enterprising. What is your mission? What do you do?
So 2B Enterprising was set up just over 2 years ago, and the purpose is to provide enterprise education resources to primary schools. It's part of the new curriculum for Wales for primary school teachers to be teaching enterprise. So it's an area that's probably quite unfamiliar to them. So there's a certain element of employability skills, careers advice for the ages 5+. So these little ones that are quite impressionable. So it's talking to them about life skills, work skills that are useful, for their future and to arm them with, the sort of resilience and decision-making capabilities that they will need in secondary school. So it's a series of storybooks and lesson plans and activities that make it really easy for teachers to teach enterprise in the classroom. And it also fits with the PSHE element of the curriculum in England. So we're working with around about 360 primary schools at the moment across England and Wales. And all of the schools are supported by a business partner. That's how it's funded. We're not a charity, we're not a social enterprise, we're a commercial organisation, but we're supporting businesses on their mission for to increase social mobility, to demonstrate social value, and to inspire the next generation of their employees and leaders.
Amazing, love it. And we've obviously spoken before, and I remember you coming to see me. It seems like a lifetime ago, but it's probably June or July. Was it later than that?
No, it was
last year, was it?
Oh, okay. October,
yeah. And I loved your vision and your story because we can all remember that. Well, I can those times back in school and college, and I think it's getting better now. And I think they're doing a much better job. But there was no support in actually taking those next steps.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I could work out the side of a triangle by knowing the other two sides and playing around with some angles. Thanks, Pythagoras. But I didn't have the skills to interview, didn't have the skills to, write a CV. We were probably given like a 20-minute lesson once upon a time. So how has that been going then? How long's the journey been going for yourself with 2B?
So we're just over 2 years, and so we started in a pilot of around about 8 or 9 primary schools, which was great. It really served its purpose in terms of proving the concept and developing the resources that we need. But we were only a year 1-2 program at that point. So over the last 2 years, we've developed resources for years 3 and 4, 5 and 6. So we have a full primary school program. It's also fully bilingual, which obviously if we're working in Wales as well, that's really important. And there's around about 25% of the primary schools in Wales are Welsh language. So it was a key element for us to make sure that, we're able to increase accessibility across the board. My children go to Welsh schools, so obviously that was my kind of mission as well. But for those businesses who want to engage with the Welsh language community as well, that's been really important for them. And they're really grateful. A lot of the time they get things secondhand or things a little bit later. But the schools in England are really enjoying the resources as well.
Oh, really? Good.
And that relationship with businesses that we're creating has been invaluable, and they really do consider that a unique selling point of the programme. So we're giving them the resources, we're giving them access to all of these lesson plans, but we're teaming it with sort of translation of what those skills look like in real life. Mm-hmm. So we've got businesses such as Acorn Recruitment, National Grid, Vinci Construction, Bluestone Resorts.
Some little plugs there for everyone, little shout outs.
Little shout outs. So, but some national businesses that have seen, how important it is to start speaking to audiences from a younger age. So businesses will do it for one of three reasons. They want to raise their profile amongst that audience, whether it's children, whether it's parents, whether it's teachers. They want to do it for their corporate social responsibility or social value. And the third reason, which should be the first reason, is that it's a really good thing to do.
I fully agree. I mean, just quickly plug it. Tell the audience if they want to find out more, if they want to get involved, if they want to sponsor. Would it be sponsoring a school?
We call it partnership.
Partnership,
because
okay.
we want them to consider that this continues year on year on year, and that's kind of their primary school to support. So if any primary schools are interested, or any teachers or parents on PTAs that are interested in finding out more, or any businesses that are interested in partnering with the primary school, then please get in touch. The website is www.enterprising.co.uk.
Fantastic. And we'll make sure we put that more than likely below the video. It could be above, depending on where you're watching it and stuff. But no, great. And actually, I assume you can speak Welsh?
I'm learning. Dwi'n dysgu Cymraeg. So I'm learning Welsh.
You're learning, what was that? Sorry?
Dwi'n dysgu Cymraeg. I'm learning Welsh.
Is that what that means?
Yeah, that's what that
means. You're our first Welsh guest.
Oh, okay.
Without putting you on the spot, are you able to look into the camera and say, hello and welcome to the How I Failed in Business podcast?
I wouldn't know how to say how I failed in business, but I'd be able to say, bore da, Jayne Brewer, croeso I Paragon Solutions. Paragon Solutions. Sales Solutions. Croeso I Paragon Sales Solutions. That's welcome.
Have you just swore at us?
No, absolutely not. I don't know the swear words. Duolingo doesn't teach us the swear words.
Do not?
No.
Oh, rubbish.
And the kids are only in primary school at the moment, so I don't think they've quite developed that.
Give them another 2 years.
Give them another couple of years. Yeah. But yeah, they're doing really well, and it's definitely growing in Wales. The sort of emphasis on using the Welsh language.
Oh, really?
Oh,
fantastic. Well,
yeah.
You've had this great journey to be enterprising, and every time we speak, it sounds like it's going really, really well. Just quickly, how did you get there? Because that wasn't an overnight success. What's your journey before that?
No, my journey before that. So I did quite a lot of work with Welsh Government in business startup programs. So there were, much like here, where there's some funding available for businesses or individuals that want to go and set up their own business. I worked on behalf of Welsh Government for some of those enterprise programs. So, for instance, graduating to enterprise, so students that were looking to set up their own business, I'd help them to develop a business plan, marketing strategy, cash flow forecast that would then be either submitted to go to the bank or for a grant application. Excuse me. And so that was where really I had my insight into a range of different businesses. Like I probably wrote, hundreds, I'd say probably more than 500 business plans over that period of about 13 years, and really loved it. And what I recognized was it doesn't matter what business you're setting up, the principles are exactly the same. Whether you're setting up a dog walking business or whether you're setting up a multi-million-pound pharmaceutical, manufacturing plant, the level of risk and investment is very different.
Yeah.
But in terms of the steps that you have to take, in terms of consideration of, the legalities around it, insurances, who your customers are going to be, supply chain processes, all of those things. So I could pretty much write a business plan for anybody as long as they had the expertise. I was able to pull all of that out. And then when I had my own contracts to deliver support, I thought, well, it's all very well, knowing how to write a business plan and understanding the fundamentals of it, but I wanted to go out there and do it myself. Yeah. So I was running my own consultancy practice, but I wanted to do something that was perhaps a little bit more fun that I could talk to students about.
Yeah.
So I thought, what could I do that I could do in the evenings? I love my day job. What could I do in the evenings that wouldn't distract me too much from my day job? What could I do that there's demand for in Swansea? What could I do that's really good fun? What could I do that I'm good at? What could I do that's legal?
That's boring.
Which is obviously a consideration. And I'd recently moved back I was living in Bath and Bristol doing my degree and my master's. And some of my friends had gone speed dating. So when I moved back to Swansea, there was no speed dating companies.
Okay.
So common mistake in business, nobody's doing this. There must be a really big market for it. And it's like, well, either there's a reason people aren't doing it because there isn't a market, or nobody's thought about it. So I set up Swansea's only speed dating company.
Wow.
And in Swansea, they're called Swansea Jacks. So people used to call me Scylla Jack.
Oh,
I know.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Well, you know,
Did you come out and go, surprise, surprise? I can't do the accent.
I absolutely loved it. We did that for 10 years.
Wow, 10 years?
10 years, yeah.
Oh.
So ran an event pretty much every month, you know, one evening a month. It wasn't a huge commitment, but it was a really profitable business. It was a really good, fun business. And then when I used to go out to schools and colleges and talk about enterprise, I wouldn't talk about consultancy or like professional services. I talked about like a speed dating business. And they all giggled. And then when you told them about the financials, they were like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
And I always, you know, I love setting people up on dates. I am a bit of a Scylla Black, but I'm not always very good at it. So I thought if I set up the speed dating business, then I'm facilitating it, but then it's up to them to make their choice. So it was really good. We had loads of weddings, a couple of divorces, lots of children. Not sure whether we've had any funerals, but it was really good fun.
Wow. When you mentioned to me earlier, so this was kept as a complete surprise to me until like literally, 20 minutes ago. I didn't know that was a thing from you. Like, it was a complete surprise. And when you mentioned it, I thought, oh, you know, a year, 2 years, just a little side hustle, 10 years. Do you miss it?
Yeah. And the only reason I stopped doing it was because I changed jobs and I was working in Cardiff.
Right.
And it was just too difficult to manage. I was commuting from Swansea and I was lecturing as well at the same time. So there was just too much going on that I wasn't able to service it. But often people have said to me, you need to bring it back. You need to bring it back. Because I think we've gone through that period of online dating and COVID, that people really like getting back in the room. You've noticed that with networking, business networking.
Yeah. I was going to say with speed dating then. I was like, hey, no, not me.
It's no different though. And I say to people about networking, you know, think about it, you know, be confident going in as though you would with a date. You know, obviously probably not as nervous. I know some people are as nervous, but you know, think about what you want, what are you offering that's interesting to that person, and what questions can you ask? And you know, they'd only have 3 minutes with each other.
Oh, okay.
So that's a really long time if you have a nightmare person in front of you. But obviously it goes really quickly if you have
got that
fun.
connection.
Yeah.
Amazing. So some great experience, some great experience across the board. I want to get to the nitty gritty now.
Okay.
I want to sort of really dive in. So obviously, if this is the first time you viewed this is the podcast where we want to share dilemmas, embarrassing stories, mishaps, things that have gone wrong, boo-boos, whatever you want to call them, because there is a whole multitude of podcasts and stories out there where people talk about the best things and they go, oh, I drive a Lamborghini, I drive this, we had all this success. Very few people talk about their little failings, but I think a lot of us have actually come a long way from those failings. So the stories we're going to talk about are never sort of completely outrageous. So Jayne, I want to kind of bring you in on this. Obviously, the title of the podcast is How I Failed in Business. We're not expecting a full failure story, a complete dilemma, you know, but have you ever failed in business or in your professional life?
I had loads of challenges, loads and loads of challenges. And I've worked in a variety of different organizations of different size. So gone from working on my own to working in bigger businesses. So charity and education, and then a startup. And inevitably, as you sort of grow in your career, you have more responsibility. And the risks associated with that responsibility get a lot bigger. But I think one of the really embarrassing or quite silly, it's nothing like major, but
give
quite
us as
silly.
Embarrassing and silly as possible.
So I set up the speed dating business with a friend, and I was she's an environmental health officer actually, but really keen on setting up this business. So we had this great time thinking, and I said, we've got to do a business plan. We've got to do a business plan because you wouldn't build a house without, you know, architecture drawings. Let's do our business plan. So we developed the business plan, and we thought we'd done all of our research, and we set out then down Wine Street, which is the street in Swansea that is like party central.
Nice.
So we thought, right, we'll go down Wine Street at about 6 o'clock to speak to some venues about whether they'd let us host our events there. So we'd sort of done our budgeting and thought about how much this venues were going to cost and all this. So we thought really professional. We had our proposals and everything. We were a little bit nervous. So we started in we started in Walkabout.
Oh, nice.
And the person that we needed to speak to wasn't there. So we were, oh God, that's the first one. I was a bit disappointed. And then we went to another venue and we managed to speak to the manager, and he was really interested. And he said, this sounds great. We've not done it before. And he said to us, how much is it going to cost me? And me and my friend like looked at each other like, oh, we thought we'd have to pay you. And it was just that moment of complete stupidity where we thought we didn't realise the value of taking 60 nervous daters into a bar at around about 7 o'clock where it's relatively quiet. And he was like, no, this is like a gift to me. You know, you can have the venue for free. So we just didn't anticipate
just that
it.
Panic. I can imagine the panic on your face.
We felt really, really stupid. Really stupid. And I really thought I knew my stuff. You know, I thought about everything. So it's making sure that you consider all different opportunities when you are exploring your business and finding out what the value of your product or service is. And venues were then falling over themselves. They were like, well, we want speed dating here, because they'd see how busy the place would be for about half an hour before the event.
Yeah.
People were literally...
Oh, of course they would be,
You know, having a little bit of Dutch courage.
That's why we've got the bar here. For whenever we're speed dating. Oh, podcast,
podcast.
Straight down, absolutely.
So I felt really silly.
But which you should be. But I bet you've learned from that. That's never happened again. You've always prepared for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, we'd never done it before. You know, we were real kind of, you know, rookies. And I think, but it gets to the point in business, like you can do your business plan, and sometimes you just need to get out there.
Agreed.
You can plan. And until you're in the market operating and you understand what your customers actually need and what they'll pay, that's when you start running a business. It's a bit like driving a car, isn't it? People say you start, you know, driving a car properly when you pass the test.
When you've done it, absolutely. And I always say to the guys and girls here when we're training, there's only so much I can teach you how to do front crawl on the side of the pool. Sometimes you know, I can show you the methods, the techniques, you know. Sometimes you've got to get in the pool and actually try, and it's then when you actually try and figure some things out, really, isn't it? So, that was wasn't as sort of risque of a story as I thought it was going to be with the speed dating at all. But so you saw some success with it all, though. You saw some marriages, you mentioned.
Yeah. We had I actually went to the first wedding, which was in the first 2 years of us running the business, and they've got 2 children now, and so it was, you know, and a friend of mine actually met her husband now, and that was a random night that she went out, her and another friend. I won't mention any names, but she knows who she is. And I love that story. And every time they celebrate their anniversary and stuff on Facebook, I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, that's sweet.
That's speed dating.
That's sweet.
So we called it Spark Dating. It was it was really good fun. And like now, nobody ever wants to talk about not the boring. To other people, you know, I loved my job. I loved my job. I loved developing business plans. I loved working with entrepreneurs. But the speed dating will always get attention. I mean, we had one woman turned up in a wedding dress, full-on wedding dress.
Why?
Full-on wedding. She wanted to show, in her words, Rob, she wanted to show she meant business.
I'd be so nervous.
Well, you'd think, but actually she had a lot of men ticked her because they remembered who she was. So you can imagine if you're dating like 30 people, 3 minutes, you don't know your Robs from your Robins.
I'm very memorable.
Okay.
You, but
everyone remembered her. I remember her name to this day.
To be fair, actually, it sends shivers down my spine, but she could be actually a marketing and creative genius.
Exactly.
Remember, was it a nice wedding dress, or was it like the charity shop one? Just quickly took it on?
It was pleasant. It was pleasant.
No, I mean, I think you are right. You mentioned earlier, you know, we've got, you know, a young, vibrant team here. We're always taking the mick out of their online dating mishaps, and we could probably set up a whole podcast on certain individuals' dating mishaps. Not Molly's. I looked at Molly then. That looks really bad. But yeah, I think that physical interaction is great. Have you seen? What's the 40-year-old virgin? Have you seen? Was there anything like that?
Yeah.
Was it?
Oh, we had. I could literally talk all day about various different stories.
Oh, we'll save those for off camera, maybe.
Yeah, it was great. But very interesting, and I learned a lot about people and business through that experience. And probably where I got a lot more confident with meeting people, because you'd have some people that would turn up literally shaking, and to get them into that room, a lot of men would just come on their own. The girls would come in gangs.
Sure, yeah.
Just like they go to the loo, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was always really interesting. But learned a lot about people through that whole, the dynamics of people and what they were interested in and what they'd end up talking about. And they'd fill in forms. So we had forms that they would take round to them with their clipboard. So they'd have Rob, number 3.
Yeah.
So they'd put, tweed jacket, works in Paragon. And as the night goes on, the comments would get a little bit more crazy and risque, but they're really good fun. And I'm actually listening to an audio book at the moment called How to Talk So Children Will Listen, and How to Listen So Children Will Talk. So again, speed dating environment, and then how to talk to my children. I learn a lot about people. I can use some of those techniques.
Yes,
with adults.
Different. And it's funny, this is a story I don't really normally share, and it's similar to yourself. This is never on my LinkedIn profile. Maybe it should be. We'll put a little poll out there. Should this be on my LinkedIn profile or not? And we may need to cut this out, because this may be a little step too far. I'm not too sure. But I used to be a naked butler. So I used to be a butler in the buff. I know it's hard to imagine in my current state, but this was a few years ago. And although, once again, there's like loads of stories I could share with you, and I've made some great contacts who I'm still friends with today, oddly. The one thing I loved about being a butler in the buff was my ability to communicate and talk to people. The thing, when you're public speaking, what they say is, imagine everyone naked, right? It was the other way around for me. I'd walk into a room of, 20, 30 individuals, and I'd be the one naked. So I always think now, if I can walk into a networking room and talk, if I could do that, walking into that networking room is just so much easier and so much more chilled out than it needs to be, really. So absolutely. You learn, I think you take anything you can from those different experiences.
Totally.
Really. So anyway, on that bombshell, Molly, do you have some little stories for us? I do. So Jayne, this is the part of the podcast. Also, thank you very much. Thank you. So this is the part of the podcast where I'm going to share some stories from you that have probably been sent in. Not probably, these ones haven't, but these are internal. But that have been sent in by other people, so we can talk about the dilemmas, see if we've ever had anything similar, just to understand a little bit about what you do. If you'd like to share some stories, no matter how big or how small, please do email into us. Of course, if you're watching this on social media, send us over a DM with your dilemma. If you want us to keep it anonymous, we certainly can. If you'd like to email it into us, email to howifailedinbusiness@gmail.com. We also have a proper domain for that, but howifailedinbusiness@gmail.com. The story's going to be as vast and wide as you failed to pay the tax man and you had a whole team of bailiffs come round to do your kneecaps in whilst you had a client in, to as low as you sent in a proposal to someone and put the wrong name on it, no matter how big or small. So Jayne, I've got one story here for you. Okay. Now this is anonymous. We won't name names because she'll be awfully upset. Now picture the scene. You're a new employee in a business. Okay, you're probably a week or two in, maybe. Okay, so you're quite new to the surroundings, you're getting to know everyone, and you realise your coffee has gone cold. Okay, and obviously you want a warm coffee. Now, that individual asked around and said, oh, what should I do? Which, once again, I think is an awkward question. Surely you just know what to do with a cold coffee, but anyway, that's by the by. An individual has gone to a colleague and said, how do I warm up my coffee? The individual in jest has said, oh, he's supposed to put it back in the kettle. The individual in question hasn't quite understood the sarcasm in that and has put it direct into the kettle and heated up the coffee in the kettle. Now, I know that this happened here at Paragon. Okay, we're great marketers, rubbish coffee makers. Okay, and I came in the morning and the kitchen smelt like burnt milk. Like you could see, because we've got a transparent kettle, you could see inside the kettle something wasn't right. I thought someone had tried to clean it. But no, they'd full on put on a whole cup of coffee into the kettle. No. Has that ever happened to you, Jayne?
I've never, ever heard of that actually happening. Perhaps they were really nervous in their first week or two.
I agree. I think there was a sense of, I'm new to the business, I'm new into the role, I don't understand this person. He was very sarcastic, the person that said it as well. How would you overcome that? How is it as an employee, how do you overcome that embarrassment?
Oh my goodness. I probably just have to, you know, admit that it was me and think, look, guys, I thought this is how we did it round here. Thought that you Paragon people were a bit crazy.
A bit backwards.
And that's what you do. Yeah, but that is a little bit awkward. And it's not very fair, is it?
No, we still to this day rightly take the mick out of her for it.
Yeah.
You know, I think she deserves it. I do think she deserves it. I think she kind of appreciates it. I can rest assured it's never happened
again
since. Like we're one mistake, you learn from it, and you move on.
I'm sure she's not the only person to have ever done that.
I don't know. Viewer, please do write in, email into howifeltinbusiness@gmail.com. Leave a comment below. Have you ever tried to warm up a coffee in a kettle directly with milk as well? I can maybe understand without milk. You know, if you just had.
Yeah. Well, no,
coffee.
I wouldn't understand then either.
I don't know.
It's quite sticky, isn't it? If you put that in a.
I've never done it. We'll try it. We'll try it.
No, don't. You'll wreck another kettle.
So, Sophia, who are Paragon Sales Solutions?
Paragon Sales Solutions are a sales and marketing agency. We help boost sales for all industries, tackling telesales, digital marketing, social media handling, call answering, giving you more time to focus on the things in business that can help you grow and will make the sales.
That sounds incredible. How can people get in touch with Paragon Sales Solutions?
People can find us online at www.paragonsalessolutions.co.uk.
I think it's .co.uk.
Oh, and they can find us on socials under the same name, Paragon Sales Solutions.
So I'm going to share with you now a story. Now, this is me. Okay, this one is me. Okay, I did a boo-boo. Okay, you've got team members, have you? Staff members? How many staff do you have at the minute?
17.
Yeah, wow, okay, I didn't realise it was so high. Okay, so you've got 17 team members. Can you remember when you took on your first employee?
Yes.
Okay. So when I first took on my first employee, probably about month 1, month 2 of business, okay, I was obviously still finding my feet. You know, I'd done everything wrong. You'd hate me. There was no business plan. There was no planning. I still don't have a business plan, or a real business plan.
Yeah.
It was just, I'll just do this. We'll crack on. We'll figure it out later. We'll swim deep in the deep end and figure it out. So I took on my first employee, literally, I think it was like month 1 and month 2 of business. Okay. Going great, lovely girl. Luckily, she was a friend, so it wasn't too bad. Got her into the business, and it got to the end of the month. I believe it was May. It's the final day in May. I'd been working away all day. She get a message, Rob, am I going to get paid today? And I was like, shit. Like, I think you are. I had no idea. I didn't know what to do, didn't know how to pay anyone. So I'm sat there, probably would have been 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Google, how do you pay staff? Genuinely, if you check my Google search history, how do I pay staff? And I'm like reading all these articles. I'm like, obviously I know how to do a bank transfer, but I was like, what about a pay slip? What about tax? What about this? What about that? So I'm like, I didn't have an accountant at the time. So literally this was, you know, absolute winging it. So how do you pay staff? Found some software from HMRC, BrightPay, I think it was. Downloaded it, quickly figured out how to use it, set her all up. I was like, Abby, what's your national insurance number? Send it over. What's your bank account details? Literally 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, she got paid, but I didn't know how to pay anyone.
But look how quickly you got it sorted.
And I think that's the beauty of the entrepreneur. And I think that story, if anything, kind of, and this isn't like a dubious plug, but resonates why this podcast is so important. So I think there's a whole misconception that business people know what we're doing.
Oh, no.
Do you know what you're doing every single day?
No. And I think when you speak to so many different people in different organizations, and having worked in bigger organizations as well, that you think are big, shiny, perfect, they experience exactly the same problems.
Absolutely.
Exactly the same problems. And that's reassuring. I think we've got to be a lot more honest about sharing some of those stories, which is why this podcast is great. And I'm part of a group now that's called Evo Ultra, and there's 12 members, and we meet every month really early in the morning, 7:30 till about speed dating. It's literally like 10 men and 2 women, so it wouldn't quite work out. So we meet 7:30 till 10:30 once a month in Cardiff, and they're all kind of C-suite level, and it's Chatham House rules, and we talk about our business challenges. We talk about how we're feeling that month as well in terms of mojo, personal life, business life. And it is so valuable. It's so valuable. That's my protected time. Because you get to hear about other challenges, and nobody's shy about sharing. And there's people in that group that are running multi-million-pound businesses, and I learn so much from them. And they're exactly the same challenges, sometimes of a bit of a different scale, the higher level risk, but it's just absolutely insightful. And you just think, oh, I thought that you were all polished, but I think it's that honesty. And I'm really honest with my team. I'd like to think that my team would say that I'm honest about the business. The startup environment is very different to working in a big corporate or a public sector organization or whatever. And I'm really honest with people when they do come on board or they're considering coming on board, that this is a different environment.
Yeah, I hear a lot of these, whether you label them a mastermind group or whatever, because you've hit the nail on the head. No one goes on LinkedIn. I didn't go on LinkedIn that day and go, oh, guess what, guys?
How do I pay my
Forgot to pay my staff. Lol. Like, I didn't do it because you wouldn't. No, I mean, I probably would do now because I don't know. I think as I get older, I've got like less of a I don't give a shit kind of mentality maybe, but or more of that. But like every entrepreneur rarely comes out and says, oh, I've messed up, oh, I've done this. It's all, oh no, I've done all right. Look at my turnover, look at my employees, look at this, look at that. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you do have a story, it could be anything as extraordinary or as minimal as you need it to be, or that you're willing to share. It can all be anonymous. Please do email into us at Molly.
business@gmail.com.
Thank you, Molly. Yes, I nearly forgot again. So please do email in or send a message to this platform. But Jayne, we're probably going to wrap up now. It'll be good to end on that bombshell, I guess. Jayne, if people want to carry on their conversation with you, if they want to learn a bit more about 2B Enterprise, and if they want to become a partner with the school, how's best for them to contact you?
Best for them is to contact us via the info at 2benterprising.co.uk. Have a look at our YouTube channel. And also our LinkedIn page, so 2B Enterprising. That's the number 2 and the letter B, Enterprising.
Fantastic.
We'd love to hear from you.
And you're happy for us to share those links below and such?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. And from our side, it is a great cause. And, I love that you brought the book in last time, I think. What's the name of the B?
So we've got Bertie and Bella. So the program's called The Bumbles of Honeywood.
13. Is there an opportunity for a new character called Bobbert?
There definitely could be.
I feel there should be an Uncle Bobbert.
There is one called Bobby.
Oh, it's not Bobbert, though, is it?
It's not Bobbert.
Okay,
it's not Bobbert.
I'll
send in a request.
If you could, yeah. We're not becoming a partner until we get an Uncle Bobbert. You're gonna go for a whole print run, just
absolutely.
They'll be like, I can't afford it. Someone spent all my money on gift cards. But Jayne, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you again soon.
Brilliant.
And thank you to you for staying tuned. Please do send in your dilemmas, send a message in or drop an email to us. Of course, hit that subscribe button, hit that like, share it with all of your friends as best as possible. The more we can grow this podcast, the more incredible things we can do with it. Plus, simply, we have no budget at the minute. If you subscribe, we may have a budget at some stage, so hit subscribe. And until next time, all the best.
Thank you for listening. No. That was the How I Fail in Business podcast.
What was it?
Podcast. It was the How I Failed in Business podcast.
It was, with the perfect failure of how to do an outro. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.
Make sure you share it with your friends and your colleagues.
Absolutely. Share it with your boss.
Share it with your boss. Let him know that it's okay that he spilt coffee on his t-shirt this morning.
Yes.
It helped him somehow in business.
Exactly. There's always a lesson somewhere.
Yeah. Leave us a review. Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
Nice. Yeah, leave a comment as well.
Yeah. Remember, we do have an audio version of this podcast as well, available on YouTube. So make sure you check that out. See our beautiful faces.
Well, my beautiful face.
Okay. And that rounds us out. Thank you for listening, and make sure you grab the next one.